Action.
You were expecting trash today, weren't you? Too bad. The building material of the day is fresh, and emphasis on fresh cat litter. Unused. Never been stepped on by cats. And today we are making terrain tiles. Much like the one that we saw at the end of our last video to frame that goblin house very nicely. The first thing you'll need are 2 sheets of corrugated cardboard and 2 sheets of cardstock. One is a ½ inch smaller than the other on all sides, and you will be using this as a template. Having spiders for hands is not necessary for this, but it is helpful nonetheless. Given that you will need an X-Acto knife for this, I feel it's a good time to remind everyone that this is still a channel for depressed adults and not children. If, like me, you sourced your cardboard from the box that the litter came in, you're going to want to flip over that smaller piece of cardboard and sand the ever-loving crap out of it. Now take a rag you don't care much about and wipe it off so that it has all of that grippy goodness. And don't slam your knee to the table. Now, I choose to be conservative with my glue because not only am I cheap, I also don't want my cardboard to absorb too much moisture and flex as it dries. This is the start of a theme. We will be spending a lot of time throughout this project fighting the flex. For now, a heavy book is a suitable weapon in this fight. Here's a part I've been dreading because I'm going to have to film this at a really strange angle, which unfortunately means you are going to see more of my desk than I am strictly comfortable with. Now it is time to introduce you to the latest weapon in fighting the flex, a composite wooden board. We will be nailing our cardboard to it with thumbtacks and a mallet. I will be finding that thumbtack with my foot later. Where the hell did I leave my mallet? This is why we needed that sheet of cardboard on top to be smaller than the one on the bottom. Each thumbtack needs to fit neatly and flush to the bottom piece of cardboard. Now I'll be speeding this up because I like the sound of the tippy taps in high speed. It's time for glue, and you can kind of go ham on this step. It would be a good idea to keep some scrap paper on standby to wipe off excess glue. You can wipe it off directly from your paintbrush as you pick it up. By the way, use a paintbrush that you really don't care about, and also make sure that you dunk it right in water as soon as you're done, unless you want to have a rock-hard paintbrush. Finally, it is time for cat litter, and this is just the first layer. Don't be shy, dump that shit on. Don't worry about making a mess. You can pick up the entire board and then dump it out either in the trash or into your cat's litter box. Gently patting down the litter will help with adhesion. It's time to lock in our gritty goodness, and my go-to is the purple can with a marsupial on it. Normally this would require no less than an hour of dry time, but like a host on a cooking show, I had prepared this dish before the camera started rolling. It's time for what I call the proprietary blend. Normally I joke that this is a mixture of clean cat litter, PVA glue, and an undisclosed quantity of rage, love, and shame. But this is more of a 1 to 1.5 ratio, going just a bit more heavy on the cat litter. This is the unintended ASMR portion of the video. That's more than enough ASMR. Alright, it's time to smear on the proprietary blend. You're going for about 1/8 of an inch of thickness across the top. It's important not to apply our mixture to the recessed edges at this stage. We will require a state-of-the-art precision instrument for that step. But first, I'm going to have a fight with my tripod for no reason. Pencil caddy, expired tattoo ink, unfinished sculpture, door, sketchbooks, success. Now for the precision instrument. It's thick cardstock covered in packing tape, or poor man's laminate. We will be using this tool to create a perpendicular edge across all sides. This doesn't have to be terribly precise. You're mostly looking for a clean and even edge, while being careful not to trap your thumbtacks underneath the mixture. Wetting your laminated cardboard lets you slide it off very easily once you're done. Normally I would tell you that this tile now needs 3 to 5 business days to dry fully, but like a good little chef, I have prepared and plated this dish for you ahead of time.
Started making it, had a breakdown. Bon appetit.
Up next is the return of the terrain tile that was seen in my last video as a dressing for the Goblin House. I want to match the topography of the first tile I made to the new one. I would like to keep the old tile in pristine condition, so I will be wrapping it with saran wrap. If you don't have the same confidence in saran wrap that I do, you may use packing tape to close it up. As you can see, the difference in topography is pretty steep. There's also some warping on the first tile that I will be fixing off camera. This is an example of why it's so important to leave it nailed to that board for at least 3 days. With the speedy application of more cat litter and glue, we're ready to match those edges. And really all I'm doing here is trying to align the corners and just mashing them together. I'm not being precise about this, I don't really care to. This is about making something just believable enough to look good on my table on game day. Now, right about here I'm going to save you some trouble. Don't bother filling in your corners until after this step. I found it very difficult to nail this back down to the board once I was done. If you can be bothered to do it, I would even recommend leaving it nailed to the board while you match the edges. Anyway, I want winding paths going all through our little goblin village. So that's what I'm laying down right now. Up next, I have another highly specialized instrument to show you. It's a novelty seed starter Easter egg. Incidentally, and unrelated to anything, one of the largest plants I have in my house was started as a tiny little seed in this egg. But it is not my favorite, because favorite plants always die. I don't make the rules, that's just how life works. Anywho, using this egg I can make a path that looks like it's been trodden on many, many times, creating a kind of concave appearance to it. I would like to point out that any rounded object will do fine for a tool. In this specific case, the egg was just what I had closest on hand. Wetting down your tool of choice will be helpful in this. I found that a rocking motion was the most effective. Once you're finished adding details and topographical interest to your terrain tile, I recommend nailing it back to the board to dry for another 2 to 3 days. These little ruined wall dealies are something I made probably 5-6 years ago. Might be something that I do a video on at a later time. I just thought that they would look nice here, and finally they would have a use. It's time for primer. I chose spray paint, hoping this would isolate the tile from ambient moisture. I'm using nutmeg brown from Apple Barrel as a base coat. And again, because I'm a cheapskate, I also have this Crayola black paint. Nothing special is going on here. We're just looking for decent coverage. In the pursuit of variation, I am going absolutely ham with that Crayola paint. It is time for a dark wash. I highly recommend, if you decide to follow along with my videos and create with me, that you buy Agrax Earthshade in bulk. I use it inveterately and constantly, and you will find it hard to escape. It is now time to smother our tile in haphazard patches of glue. While I breathe awkwardly into the mic of my camera. Anyway, I bought a static flocker, and it is my new favorite toy. It might be kind of hard to see, but the difference between the new tile and the old, thanks to this device, is pretty stark. I may even decide to strip the old tile so that I can reflock it later on. I absolutely love this thing, and everything was going very, very well right up until now. Oh! Ooh! Ooh! Jesus! Whew, that got me good! Ooh, play dumb games, win dumb prizes. Holy shit! That was not a joke. All the flocking stayed in it, though. Anyway, I moved on with my life, with a great deal more respect for this tool that can apparently zap me pretty good. If for some reason my video has sold you on the idea of owning one yourself, I recommend that you don't do that if you own a pacemaker. I felt that shock in my chest, and I would rate it somewhere between touching an electric fence and an overclocked fly swatter. The safety features of this model in particular are questionable at best, but I bought it because it came with more flocking. Next up, I'm adding air quotes leaf litter. Only tangentially related to what we are currently doing, I'm also a gardener. Some of the supplies that I use here I got from my porch. I don't have a yard, so I garden out of buckets on my porch. Like, for example, marigolds. Which is where I got these crushed up leaves. Now, we are going to lock in these little leaves with more of the purple can. I would recommend light spraying from about 2 feet away from your target. This moss-covered swamp tree is also made from the stem of a marigold plant. I made it off-camera during a fit of anxiety induced by my mother-in-law. We also have some army painter grass tufts. I almost couldn't decide where to put them because I was so excited to be done with this project. These are the final details, and once they are in place, we are done. Thank you for watching. In my next video, I think I'm going to tackle subpar trees, which is sure to be a dumpster fire, so stay tuned.